can go ahead and fill out the Google form at this time. Drop your name on the chat. Happy Wednesday. Hope everyone's staying warm out there. It's now weather season, formally or informally. We have some guest speakers with us today. So we are here for an awesome presentation. The underclassmen will be learning about their standardized exam that they're going to be taking next week, the PSAT. Seniors might be taking the official SAT next week on the 13th. So we want to be mindful of our guests. We want to interact. We want to ask questions, use the chat. So just some house rules. We want to ensure that everyone goes to the breakout room they're supposed to. We know that as of last week, we started breakout rooms. So always ensure that you are with correct grade level. Seniors, we will be tackling the FAFSA. We're gonna do a walkthrough and answer all your questions in regards to paying for school, college, FAFSA, any concerns that you may have. We hope that after today you leave with the tools and the resources that you need to fill out and take your money for college. FAFSA is the gatekeeper. So with that being said, we are going to do breakout rooms. This is gonna be ongoing. So we're gonna have to get in the habit of getting into our breakout rooms as soon as we get in. Make sure that you are in the right presentation. And for the seniors that are with us today and are going to be working on the FAFSA, we do have an incentive. We will have a raffle. This is our way of just keeping you motivated to end senior year strong. There may even be some food actually for those seniors that are in here taking care of business. We know college applications have formally been open as of Friday. We know some have even been open as far as August. So we do have some special announcements for the seniors, lots of great opportunities to work on your apps. We are here until 8 p.m. on Saturdays, which I'm going to talk about. We have a big upcoming event. It's actually one of our traditions. We've been doing this since the start of College Bound that I'm going to be covering. So we hope that you're all here for a good time. I hope you're here to learn. I am encouraging all students to use the chat. I want to get in the habit of using the chat more so that no one leaves here with unanswered questions. And so with that, I'm gonna just wait on Andres to give me the okay and let us know when we're going into breakout rooms.
While we wait, seniors, please make sure you guys are already, getting your computers ready, getting those websites ready. As Mr. Andres organizes the breakout session.
All right, the breakout room should be set up for y'all. I'm gonna go ahead and open them up. If you are still in here and you're an underclassman, please let me know and I'll go ahead and set you to the right breakout room. Thank you.
On your screen should be a pop-up as to where you're gonna go into the underclassmen workshop or the senior workshop. I hope you all have a blast with our guest speakers and ask them lots of questions.
Sort of for today, but we only have 50 counts left and the rest is Johnny. So
some house rules that we can keep our mics off. We have a chat for that, so we can. Seniors, I do want to remind you that this is a 2-hour presentation. We have a lot to cover, lots of information to share with you about the updates, the new changes with FAFSA. We do ask that you stay till the end. Underclassmen, you're free after 6. You're not required to stay till 7. Seniors, like mentioned, we have incentives. We're here to have raffles. We're here to have a good time. We're going to be actually conduct a poll in a little bit. So turn on your listening skills. Make sure that you're paying attention. If someone's being of a distraction to you, talk to a case manager so that we can make sure that underclassmen are wearing their earphones, or seniors vice versa. We want to make sure that you leave here with the information that you need. Are we still doing breakouts, or we're good to go?
Yeah, I think we're good to go, Karina.
All right, so with that being said, welcome to today's presentation. Thank you all for joining us. I want to start with our first announcement for today's presentation, which is going to be on our senior retreat. We have formally put together our senior retreat that we have done for every year that College Bound has been around. College Bound has been around for 20 years, so this is now our 16th annual. It's a tradition. It's something that we do for our seniors. This is our way of getting our seniors ready for senior year. This is our way to ensure that seniors do the best that they can on their college application. So this day is going to be dedicated to the seniors. We're going to allocate 3 hours on October 22nd on Friday, the day of homecoming. We are conscious that I believe some schools have homecoming, from 3 to 6, but it's not going to be an average Friday. It's not going to be your traditional Friday at the College Bound program or Boys and Girls Club. This day is going to be a day where you can come and ask questions about the 4-year application. We're going to have raffles. We're going to have food, and it's going to be a day where you get to spend the half a day, 3 hours with College Bound staff, working and learning about the college application process. We know that some of you are the first in the family, may be dealing with anxiety or may be unsure of what your plan after high school may be. So we do hope that after you attend senior retreat, that you leave here more empowered, confident as to what that plan for high school is going to be. And that plan could be anything from the 2-year to the 4-year, out of the state. You're going to be the one to decide what that plan is for you. We will have presentations on the 2-year application, the community college option. We'll have a presentation as well on the 4-year application. That's the CSU, the UC, and the Common App. And we'll ensure that we cover all forms of education, presentations on FAFSA and DREAMAC. And we are even going to have a presentations on first generation thriving. We want to ensure that after you leave senior retreat, that you are now more empowered to use education as a tool. You are the first to hear about it. It's finalized. This is the flyer, so look out for it at any of your college centers or even in your school. You'll probably even see it on social media. Space is limited because of the pandemic, so first come, first serve. We are going to go through a registration process, so you do have to do a registration form. The breakouts are on there. It's very important that you select a presentation that you want to attend so that you don't end up in a presentation that it's not relevant to you. So you do have to read this carefully, spend some time on it. And so the bottom half is going to be for you, and the top half is going to be for your case manager or your coordinator. And this is how you're going to save your spot. Now, the best thing about senior retreat, not just because we're going to spend the entire day together or because you're going to come learn about the college application process, but this is going to be an opportunity to earn those golden tickets that are value at $70 each. This are good for college apps for those of you thinking of a 5th CSU or a 5th UC or a 5th Common App. We do want to ensure that you walk out of there with prices and that you have fun, and it's not just a retreat where you went and sat 3 hours for. So we'll have incentives. We'll definitely be taking signups after today. So I wanted to start with that and ensure that you guys know about our annual senior retreat. We've been doing this for a very long time. Previous years, we'd had it on college campuses like Marymount, Cal State Dominguez have been some of our campuses that we had our annual retreat. This year, because of COVID, we'll be hosting it at each of our clubhouse. So you are the first to find out about our senior retreat taking place October 22nd on Friday, before any other senior out there. So we want to make sure that you have the dates, the time, and that you're reserving your spot by filling out a registration form. Staff, team, anything that I'm leaving out?
Yes, please make, just want to reiterate what you said, that this is a really important event because we are able to put some time and provide you guys additional information that you won't necessarily get because of the, just because of the event is focused on that. So you'll get more information.
So it's a one-time, one-place shop. You literally get to learn about, like I said, the UC, CSU application process, as well as the community college option, and as well as financial aid or DREAMAC. DREAMAC is for students that maybe would have had been born in another country. FAFSA is for legal residents and U.S. citizens. So let that sink in a little bit. I'm going to now talk about our next event. Lots of events happening, especially with our seniors in peak season. We are formally what we call peak season, which is our busiest time of the year. And it's the time that we get to give the seniors our undivided attention when it comes to college apps. We have allocated Saturdays at every one of our locations to come and work on your college applications. We want to make sure that you are not in this alone or you don't feel overwhelmed. So with that, the Saturdays on here are for seniors. We will be providing food and raffles. We want to ensure that you don't make any of the common mistakes. The reason why we have allocated every Saturday, or we have reserved every Saturday in October and November from 9 to 1 at every one of our locations, so you can come and work on college apps. If you maybe don't know what your major is going to be, or maybe you're not sure where you want to apply, these Saturdays are for you. These is for the seniors. We are expecting a big crowd. Spots are limited because, again, we're practicing social distancing. So we want to ensure that you're not, like I said, making any of the common mistakes, and that you're getting your applications revised, and that you're submitting the best application you can to these institutions of higher education. The competition is high. Some of these schools do receive over hundreds and thousands of applicants, and we want to make sure you're one of the candidates, not only being able to apply to these schools, but even have a shot at getting in. We're going to make sure that we walk you every step of the application, and that we polish your application the best version that we can, so that you have a shot at getting in. We're also going to have a conversation as to what schools you should consider applying to, so that you don't have too many or all competitive schools. And so on here, you have the Common App that we already reserved a Saturday for. This Saturday, we'll be taking appointments for FAFSA DREAMAC as well. And the Saturday after that, which is the week of Halloween, is going to be CSU and EOP. And then we're going to reserve November 13th for the UC app. We want to make sure that you guys have an opportunity for all. So on the week of the 9th, which is this upcoming Saturday, you want to ensure that you bring in your 2020 tax information, or that at the very least, you get the pre-questionnaire filled out. So I'm going to show you what that looks like. Again, we want to make sure you're coming ready to these shutdown and apply events. We will have transcripts for most of our students and not all of our students. So the only thing you have to bring in is your tax information if you're doing the DREAMAC or the FAFSA. So I want to ensure that you guys have the dates. This flyer also will be posted all through our college centers, all through our learning centers, and as well in the high schools that you're at. And it was also emailed out to you. So make sure that you're checking your email, and make sure that you're coming and taking advantage of these events that are especially for the seniors. We want to, like I said, ensure that you have the best application that you can possibly put together. And we want to ensure that you explore your options. Some of you are looking at anywhere between 8 to 16 colleges that you're going to consider applying for. And we want to make sure that you represent the best version of yourself on these applications. So, here's the shutdown and applied. Here, I'm gonna go ahead and share with you a few more items. As you may already know, we have a collaboration with Toyota, the car company. Toyota has been a partner of ours for quite some time now. We've been together for quite a while. And like many years, they have reached out to Boys and Girls Club members and our Boys in College Bound program for our $20,000 scholarship. That is a big time scholarship. It's renewable. The smallest amount starts at 5,000 and the highest goes all the way to 20,000. So another great opportunity, and the deadline is actually November 1st, which is the next day after Halloween. Last year, it was around the same time, but I want you to write down November 1st as a deadline for Toyota. It will require 2 prompts, transcripts, and as well as your 2020 tax information. However, your parents don't file taxes for 2020. It's not for us to ask. We just want to get an estimate as to how much they make. And so you can still apply to the Toyota Making Life Easier scholarship. It is open to only college-bound members, keyword only. You do need a consent form from us to say that you are an active member. So once you get to the application, you'll come across a consent form. Our director, Yesenia Aguilar, will have to sign that you are a member, active member of our college-bound program, because it is a pretty big scholarship. So we want to ensure that our actors, the ones at these presentations, are the ones that are winning these scholarships. Fun fact about one of our guest speakers, not sure if you got to see who he was, but Jose Fernandez is actually a recipient of the Toyota scholarship. He recently just transferred from the community college, and now they are paying it forward and giving back. And he's currently at Long Beach State, recently transferred. So again, you also can be a recipient as well. It is renewable. We do have winners from previous years that have won the scholarship for $20,000, which is equal to $5,000 for every year that you're in school. And again, amounts vary. That application is also open, and deadline is the next day after Halloween. All right. I'm going to. All right. So with that, I'm going to actually get us started with some of the material that you're going to need when filling out financial aid or the DREAM Act application. We know sometimes parents may not always trust our students with the tax information as it is very sensitive material. So we have created a form for our students, our college-bound students, that they can take home and get it filled out by their parents. These are the questions that are going to be on your financial aid application. These are questions that you're going to need the answer to. You will have to know at some point, when did your parents get married if they're married, when did they separate if they're separated, and their birthdays. So we have created this cool little single-sided sheet that you can take home and have your parents fill it out. You can start by doing this. This is the first task you can take before starting your financial aid application. You can pick one of these up at any of our locations. It's also been emailed to you as well. So if you can't have access to the taxes or your parents don't file taxes, again, it's not for us to ask. We just simply want to get to the bottom as to how much they make, whether it's reported or not. So they can fill out this form. But before I even get started with the presentation, Mr. JC is going to launch a poll. We want to see what your knowledge is when it comes to financial aid. We want to alleviate any myths, any misleading information when it comes to financial aid. So on your screen, you're gonna have a poll that's gonna come up, and we want to assess already what our students know about financial aid and how they even feel about financial aid. So with that, Mr. JC, how are we with the poll?
Yep, so I'm gonna launch it right now. Okay, seniors, ready? 2, 3. You should be seeing a question that's popping up. So hopefully you guys answer it the best of your knowledge. And yeah, good luck.
So the first question reads, what is EFC? After today's presentation, guarantee you're not gonna know what that EFC number is. The second question reads, what is a Pell Grant? Which is a form, I shouldn't even say, I'm just gonna leave it as is. And the third question is, what is FAFSA? What does it stand for? Very cliche, very, you might think like FAFSA, I didn't even know it had an abbreviation. So you get to learn today what FAFSA stands for, EFC, what this terminology means to all of us that work in education, but more than anything, what it means to you. Some house rules, please, if we can remind ourselves to keep our mics off. Okay, I'm also seeing the chat. Now make sure that you're responding through the poll, but we are curious to see what you know about FAFSA and what's an EFC and how is that even related before we can even get started.
And one of our last question is, who is the lead presenter today? Our wonderful, wonderful coordinator at Wilmington. So hopefully y'all know who she is.
Oh, I didn't see that. Good one, good one. I totally went over my head. So yeah, who is your presenter today? I mean, my name's on the screen, name JC, that's a hard one. Hey, we want to make sure they get at least one of them right?
That's true. Remember, guess right, okay? Guess right. There's 2 guys and there's 2 women on there, so make sure you get the one.
You should at least get that one right. At least the fourth question. So, are we able to see results? It looks like 67.
Yeah, it looks like right now, I can read it, Karina, just in case. So for what is EFC, we have, for the right answer, we had about 35 out of 67 students got it right. So pretty good, pretty good, pretty good. Half right now. What do you think, Miss Karina? So EFC stands for Estimated Family Contribution. So, you know, when you finish FAFSA, when you do all the financial things correct, as Miss Karina is going to explain to you today, I'm not going to give away too much. And it's what you get at the end to kind of emphasize, you know, what the outlook of your income and your household size be, and that's what you get. And Miss Karina will explain more of that. And then for what is Pell Grant, the right answer is a free federal money from filling out the FAFSA. All you got to do is, you know, listen to Miss Karina today and you fill out that FAFSA, and if you can get your Pell Grant, you can get up to, Miss Karina will tell you how much Pell Grant is before the end of this presentation. And then for what is FAFSA? FAFSA stands for Free Application Federal Student Aid. And you guys did good. They did good. It's 66 out of 68. Pretty good, pretty good. Good job, y'all. Good job. It shows that you guys are actually listening to us in the summer and the last couple of workshops. And then you guys, they got it right, Miss Karina. Who is the lead presenter today? They got it 60 out of 68, Miss Karina. Yep, Miss Karina from our Wilmington. She's the Wilmington coordinator. So please pay attention to her. And if you guys have any questions, me and Mr. Eddie will be on the chat. And happy going. Let's enjoy this fast performance, Karina.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. So that was the freebie. Yes, I will be your presenter today. We're going to learn about money, how to secure that money, what type of money, free money, loan money, money you can work towards for. I like Mr. Jordan Rivers' response on the chat. I do want to give him a shout out. Financial aid is essential for receiving federal assistance to apply for money through your social security for your college. So I think that was a very valid answer. So just want to give him a shout out for that. Great response. So when it comes to paying for college, there is a misdemeanor, like a misconception that my parents make too much, or my parents aren't documented, or my parents don't make enough, or my parents don't report. And so I want to right away alleviate as much as anxiety, stress that I can. Ask us questions, bring us your scenarios. We hope that we can better guide you, support you when it comes to securing aid. I do want to ensure that you all walk out of here knowing that you're entitled to this money, meaning that you have rights over it. If you are a California resident and if you are a legal resident in another country, you're also entitled for living in California. There is money allocated out there for you to go to college. So I want to already start on a positive note and ensure that everyone that walks out of here knows that they are entitled. You will and can receive money, some form of money, whether it's borrow or gift aid. This is also the best type of money that you can borrow if you do plan on living on campus. It's the best type of loans that you can borrow at a lower rate. The payment plans are not until you graduate from college. So you're looking at anywhere between 4 to 5 years from now that you're not making payment plans. But before we even get started and before we even jump into the what is financial aid, I want you to all know what the FSA ID is. So the FSA ID is the way you sign your FAFSA. So think of it as a digital signature. It will track you and it will matriculate with you as you progress in college. And it is associated with your social security number. It is associated with the Social Security Administration. You will have to create one for yourself and one for your parent. However, this is only for those that have valid social security numbers. If your parent is undocumented, or they may have an I-10, which we're going to tell you what that is, or maybe you're in a situation where you may identify as undocumented. We do want to make sure that you are not creating a username and password if you don't have a social security number or if your parent doesn't have one. So do not try to make up numbers or input numbers that you're not sure about, because we want to avoid any type of conflict or any type of confusion with the FSA ID. And so it's 5 easy steps. This is the first official step that you'll have to do, which is to create your username and password. It can't be your birthday. It can't have your name on it. So you have to get very creative when creating your username, but nothing over the top. No one's going to hack you. No one's going to make sure go into any of these accounts but yourself. You're going to be the one managing your FSA ID as well as your parent. So 5 easy steps to creating the FSA ID. We have, like I said, created this pre-worksheet that you can take home and come back with it filled out. And so the FSA ID is the first step, official step when filling out the FAFSA. Now, before I continue, I do want to highlight the types of aid that you're applying for. You're applying for the Pell Grant, which we talked about at the pool, free money. That Pell Grant is now at its highest it's ever been in FAFSA history, and it's currently at $6,495. Process that. That's $6,000 as the first in the family to go to college. You are entitled to that money if you're come from a low-income family. And even those that are middle class can even have access to that amount as well. You're applying for nearly just about everything and anything. The Federal Supplemental Education Opportunity Grant is also falls under the FAFSA. You're applying for Cal Grants. which are from the state of California. The promise that everyone talks about, 2 years free, will come through FAFSA. FAFSA is the bigger umbrella. So you're not only applying to grants, but you're applying to loans, money you do have to pay back at some point. Work study is money you can allocate while you're on campus and you work and you become a student worker. So it really is a variety of aids that you're applying to. So with FAFSA, you literally make this money accessible to you. So like I said, depending on income and depending on the number of people that live in your home, it also depends on the type of school that you're considering applying to or considering attending, that they're going to be able to come up with a formula to auto-populate and see how much money they can provide you with. The private schools are going to give you a lot of money. Community colleges, you're going to be able to save money if you are considering the community college. Schools like Cal State Dominguez, Cal State Northridge, Cal State Fullerton, Cal State Long Beach State, that are commuter school, and you can go and come. You may, in some cases, have money left over. So again, lots of conversations about money, lots of resource. It does start with financial aid. Financial aid is the gatekeeper. We want to make sure that as I'm going through the presentation that you follow along. I am going to start with the very first one on the FSA ID. I want to ensure that everyone here can, at the very least, create their username and password. Chances are you may be able to do the FAFSA with us, or you may not, because you do need your 2020 tax information. So the first website we're going to drop in the chat box is the FSA ID website. This is your username and password, your digital signature, the one that's going to be with you throughout your years in high school or college. Sorry for that. So we want to make sure that you're writing down your username and password and your questions. There's going to be security questions that you're writing down. We advise you that you pace yourself, that you relax, that you're not rushing. There are questions on your home address that if you're moving too fast, you'll forget where you live. And so we want you to pace yourself. Read through the questions thoroughly. Make sure that you know what you're answering. The staff will be coming around and kind of navigating through as I'm presenting and going over some of this material. One of the biggest things that I want to highlight here is your name. Your legal name is very important. I can't stress that enough. You have to ensure that you're using the name on your social security card. So because if you don't, there is going to be a possibility where they don't match you to your identity. Social Security Administration is going to try to figure out who you are and to claim all this money. So the biggest thing when creating your username and password for yourself and your parent is that you're using your legal name. If you have two last names that maybe you're not accustomed to using and maybe you're accustomed to using one, you have to ensure you're now start getting the habit of using your legal name. The same goes for your parent. We know some of our parents have got married, have a married last name, or maybe changed their last name. We have to go with what's on the social security card. If you aren't unsure because maybe you haven't seen your social security card in 18 years and this is maybe the first time you're seeing it in all your life, we are here for that. We are here to help you navigate through the FSA ID. We don't expect you to have it all figured out. We don't expect you, we understand, first in the family, first time doing this. But even when creating your password, you really have to pay attention to the extra characters, the special characters, and that you're not using your name or your birthday, typical passwords that we're used to creating. And then you want to ensure that you write down your username and password. Believe me, you're not going to remember this 2 years from now, or even next year when it's time to renew, which by the way, FAFSA opens October 1st. It's been open formally for 5 days, and you have until March 2nd to fill out your FAFSA and your DREAM Act. And it does start with the FSA ID. This website will send a signal or will communicate with Social Security Administration to confirm that this is the person who claims to be who's filling out the FSA ID. So they are going to confirm your identity. You will get an email saying, hey, your identity is being confirmed by Social Security Administration. They want to ensure that everything matches and that you claim to be the person that you are, that's filling out the financial aid. And so We want you to really spend some time. You will get 2 forms of confirmation to confirm that it's again you through a text and through email. So you're gonna find yourself having to put security codes. You're gonna find yourself doing it through an email and a phone number. And then you're gonna have to do this all over again for your parent. Now, I do wanna highlight here is your parent should have a different email, or maybe if you have 2 emails, you may have to loan them one of them, but you're gonna find that you can't use the same email for 2 different accounts. So think of the FAFSA IDs as 2 accounts, 2 usernames, 2 passwords, 2 emails, none of which should overlap. You need to distinguish your parent username and password with yours. Now, if you don't know what parent you want to do the FAFSA ID for, I'm going to leave that up to you, but you have to remember who you made it for. And believe it or not, we have students year after year that they'll forget. They're like, did I do it for my mom? Did I do it for my dad? And then you have those siblings that already created a username and password because they were already maybe in college and they came across doing financial aid. So you might find yourself with a sibling, your oldest, that already created a username and password for your parent. This is where you have to get extra savvy, extra nice, do their bed in the morning, buy them breakfast, coffee, whatever they want, because they need to disclose that information to you. Now you will be sharing a username and password for your parent. That is the only thing that you're sharing is their income and their username and password. Now, of course, if you have mom and dad and sister did a username for your mom, this is your only chance where you're actually able to do a username for your dad and still be able to do financial aid. So that's, again, now if you come from a single parent household, your sister went to college, already did a username and password for mom. Unfortunately, you are gonna have to get that information from her or him. You may be able to retrieve that username and password because we know sometimes siblings graduate from college and so they're not gonna remember what their username and password was for their parent that maybe that they created over a couple years ago. You will have the option to retrieve it. So you're gonna come across these options to retrieve, creating, again, lots of sensitive information. Social Security Administration, parents may freak out and say, hey, why is the Social Security Administration contacting me? It's to confirm that that their identity is real and that their number is valid. If you're not assured, I say this is where you turn to your case manager and ask them. Do not assume. Don't think just because you see 9 digits on a tax form or just because they provided you with the 9-digit number of any kind, don't assume it's a Social Security number. You're gonna learn about ITINs and socials and the difference between that. So again, a little bit of information on Social Securities and numbers, and just because there's 9 digits doesn't mean it's a Social Security number. Anything here that the rest of my team wants to add? All right, with that, we're gonna dive into the actual application, the moment of truth, the moment everybody was waiting for anxiously, FAFSA, what it looks like. I get very excited about this conversation every year because I witness year after year how it's made a difference in students' life. The dream of going to college and making college a reality has been possible because of FAFSA and DREAM Act. And that is our biggest satisfaction. You may want to have aspirations and dreams of going to Harvard, Stanford, USC, UCLA, but if the money ain't there, that is a barrier. But we have witnessed, and year after year, my team and I have witnessed what FAFSA does for families. It's such a relief, and just to be able to witness students make their dreams become a reality is very satisfying. Witnessing how students get to their dream school and have the money to go for it. So here's what the actual application looks like. After you create your username and password, you will have an opportunity to actually start using it. And it's funny how many students actually remember their username and password literally after they just created it. Reason why you have to write it down, you'll forget within seconds. Within seconds, you'll forget what your username and password is, or you'll get a mix with your parents. So very important that you are keeping those two separate. And so the actual website, and if my team can drop the link at this moment for the FAFSA, is FAFSA.gov. I do want to share 3 websites that you're going to learn about today. The first one you already did is FSA ID, which is username and password for yourself and your parent. The other one is FAFSA.gov, which is the actual application where you're going to fill out the actual financial aid form. And then studentaid.gov. It's actually one of my most favorite. They just they went ahead and updated it. And this is where you can administrate your money. You can administrate how much you have left, how many years you're eligible for. And it even goes into your loan. So if at any point you have to borrow or you do decide to borrow, this is the website, studentaid.gov, that will have all this information that is related to you. When did you borrow? How much did you borrow? How much money you have left? How much money have you collected over the years? That program that I was talking to you about, it's good for up to 6 years. That's a long time from now. You're going to be probably in school for 4 years, 4.5. You have money still after that. So FAFSA.gov and FSA ID are 3 different websites that you're going to find yourself managing between. Know the difference, know what they look like, and know what they serve. FAFSA, like I said, it's where the actual application's at. FSA ID is your username and password. So you might find yourself with 3 browsers, and you may find yourself in and out of applications and just different tabs. This is what the FAFSA looks like. So get familiarized with what it looks like. Know what application you're filling out. There is FAFSA.com or FAFSA.org. We want to know and ensure that all of our students are going with FAFSA.gov, and it's going to look like exactly like this. It's not going to look any different, and you're going to be able to right away use your username and password. And then it's going to have a breakout, and the next tab is going to present. It's going to be in front of your screen, and it's going to ask you, are you the student? Are you the parent? Or are you a preparer helping a student fill out the FAFSA? So pretty straightforward, right? You're going to answer that you are the student, the first tab. I want to make sure I'm not leaving anyone out or anyone behind. So if I'm moving too fast, please let us know so that I don't move and leave anyone behind. So right when you select I am the student, it's going to take you straight into the application. It's going to give you the option to create your username and password if you maybe skip that step, or it's going to give you the option to actually sign in with your username and password. And then it's going to go right into who you are, your personal information that goes back to how you identify as an individual. So if you, let's say, your legal name is Samantha, but you always gone by Sam because that's just, what your family members are used to calling you, you're gonna have to get in the habit of using Samantha, which is your full legal name. This is one of the common mistakes that students will do. They will forget their legal name, as silly as that sounds, or they're accustomed to just using their nicknames. So again, get in the habit of using what's on your social security card. Your birthday, you'll forget it, you'll blank out, you'll maybe get it mixed with your parents. I've even witnessed students put today's date. They will sit there, fill out the FAFSA, and put that they were born October 6, 2001. I'm like, you must have been born 30 seconds ago. We understand the type of anxiety and types of nervousness that you may be encountering. And so we are advising you to pace yourself. Read the questions. You are in no rush to finish this application, because not only is a very sensitive application, but it's your money. You don't want to mess around with your money. You want to make sure that every single thing's filled out and that you're not making careless mistakes or making any mistakes at all. Your social security number, we don't advise you carry your social security card, but that you memorize it. And so you're going to go into the actual application. So this is the way it's broken up. There's tabs 1 through 7 at the top. You can see the 3 check marks, and then you can see the other ones that aren't checked. So you pretty much have 7 tabs that you're going to be filling out. The best way to know if you're moving in the right direction, or if you're even filling out the financial aid application correctly, is to look at the number of the tabs. Tabs 1 through 4 is for yourself. You're gonna only answer for you. It's gonna be pertaining to you and no one else. Tabs 5 and moving forward are gonna be tabs that are related to your parents, their aid, and so forth. It's gonna get very personal. You're gonna get to a point in the application where you may not even understand some of the question because of how personal it gets. And so I want to encourage every single one of you that you seek the help and the resources. We are here for that. We're not the experts, but we are here to walk you every step of the way. We want to make sure that you don't not answer questions about income that are related to your parents by you answering for yourself. And that happens very often. Other things that we come across is students will sit there and try to read their tax forms. The tax forms aren't student friendly. They're not for you to try to decode them in any way. So you have to ensure that you're working with the case manager or a coordinator when filling out the FAFSA. 9 out of 10 times a student will make a mistake when working on it on themselves. Happens every year. And if you do work on it at home because your parent wants to see what it looks like, by all means, we do want to make sure you have that. We don't want to take that away from you. We want that at the very least you see what and know what it looks like. But at the very least, get it revised. And just as an incentive, and after today, whoever completes their FAFSA will not only be put in a raffle, but will be put in a second raffle for turning in their confirmation page. So we are going to consider and we're going to have an incentive for those that take care of their business, and we want to make sure that they're taken care of. So if after today you finish your FAFSA, you get it revised and you submit and you turn in your confirmation page, not only are we going to tell you what's on that confirmation page, but we're going to put you in a raffle and ensure that you have been taken care of for taking care of your business and for securing money to go to college. If at any point you get to tab number 4 and you start panicking, this is a sign for you to turn to a case manager or coordinator and work with them when filling out the financial aid application. Not only that, but after tab 4, chances are you're gonna run out of options. You're not going to be able to fill out the application all by yourself. It's just not, it's very student friendly. I do want to say that now that they renovated the website, it's very student friendly. And a lot of the questions are going to be pretty straightforward. But after tab number 4, that is when you're going to want to work with the case manager. So even if you start on it tonight, remember after tab number 4, consult with the case manager, talk to them like, hey, am I even moving in the right direction? Am I filling out this, this application correctly? So again, want to make sure that all are maximizing on the aid that they're applying for. Then it's going to go into your home address. I think that's a pretty straightforward question. However, I've seen otherwise, students again panic and they'll leave out the actual number of their home address where they live, and they'll maybe just put the street, or they'll put another home address because maybe that's the home address that they have on file for school. This is the time where you do want to put the actual home address where you live, or your mailing address. If you have 2 addresses and aren't sure, consult that with the case manager so that we can ensure that you put the proper address. They're not going to mail you anything. Hardly ever do they even mail you anything. 100% of the communications through email, but we still want to make sure that your address is correct on here. Your citizenship status and your residency. Where do you reside? In California, you live in the state of California, so all should say, yes, I reside in California and I've been here for at least in the last 5 years. If you haven't, then it'll ask you when you came to the States, and it's for residency purpose. And then it's going to ask you about citizenship, whether you are a legal resident or a U.S. citizen. And if you are a legal resident, you are going to need your alien ID number. So that's going to be the number on your green card. It's known as an alien ID number. Again, you want to talk to a case manager about these kind of stuff, because for some you may not know what an alien ID number is. And then it's going to have questions on your legal residency, where you reside. Again, if you came from another state, they want to ensure that you have California residency. And fun fact, if you lived in California for 1 year and 1 day, that automatically makes you a California resident. How cool is that? Or in Arizona, you actually have to have a home address and have lived there for like 6 months. But California said 1 year and 1 day. It's going to get to the student education tab, where it's going to ask, what is your highest completion? all of you, I repeat, would have a high school diploma by the time you start college. So you would put high school diploma here, and we can even drop the answers in the chat for your preference. It's gonna ask whether you are pursuing an associate's degree, which is a 2-year degree at the community college, or a bachelor's degree. If there's going to be question is as if you already have a bachelor's degree. So you're probably wondering, like, I just answered, I'm going to pursue a bachelor's degree. Why would they want to know if I already have one? Well, there's a lot of us, like myself and Mr. JC, that have earned a bachelor's degree and have maybe decided to go back and earn another one. So you are able to pursue a second bachelor's degree once you finish college. And then there'll be a question as to what is your term? And you're gonna have to put never attended first year. This is your first time being in college, regardless if you took a class through enrollment and you were once a college student while in high school or have college credit. You have not, I repeat, you have not attended college in any way, shape, or form, rather than done the dual enrollment and not earn credit that way. You have to have formally enlisted in a higher institution of higher ed to be considered a first-time college student, and you had to have at least taken 12 units. So there's no way anyone in this presentation should be putting that they are anything else but a first-time in college student and that they never attended. And then my most favorite question, do you want to be considered for work study? It's in the name. Work study is when you study and you work. You can be a student worker and earn money while you're in school, but the only way you're going to be considered for a student worker money is not only by applying to an actual job, but for selecting, yes, I am interested. You are putting yourself out there and saying, yes, I want money. Now you're still going to have to go through the actual application process and hiring process and interview process. And however, you're only required to work 20 hours, 25 on a good week. And that's because you are a student before you are a worker. And so you'll find yourself working on campus. And that is another alternative, another revenue, another way to bring in money to paying for your college. Lots of money. I've seen work study go for up to $5,000. So you can earn $5,000 in 1 year grace period, which is the time that you're in school. And you're working, like I said, in the library, in the maybe dorm, you're working in dorms on campus. These jobs can lead to professional growth and eventually can even lead to careers if you decided to stick around and work with faculty and at the actual institution. So you can become a permanent hired and, later then become an actual faculty of these institutions that some of you may be considering attending. So work study, think about it as more money, but you're working towards it. Your gender, there'll be questions on your gender. For my gentlemen in the audience, if you are a male that is 18 years of age or will be 18 in the upcoming months, you have to, by law, regardless of immigration status, register for selective service. That is the law. That is one of the requirements in order for you to receive financial aid. However, I will also share that because you are a male and because you are 18 years of age, you have to register. Chances are that you won't remember to register, or you may want to opt out. So you can go ahead and select, I'm not registered, but go ahead and registrate me. You're going to give them authority to registrate you. However, there hasn't been a draft in more than 50, 60 years. It's been a very long time. I can't remember when the last draft was. Second of all, you're not of a priority. Any of the students that are considering going into higher education are not a priority for a draft or to serve their country. They're in school. They're trying to better serve this community. So you're not of a priority, but you do have to register for selective service if you are a male that is 18 years of age. Like I said, there hasn't been a draft, and you are not a priority. Even if there was to be a draft, you'd be at the bottom of the bottom list. So you're not a priority if you decide to go on to some form of higher education. And once you turn 18 on your 18th birthday, selective service will register you as part of their database. Then they'll have questions on foster youth or foster care. If you do have a sensitive case like that, again, we ask that you share that with any of us, as we will try to better support you and try to secure as much money as possible for your circumstances. So if you do are in that category or identify as foster youth or foster care, please talk to us. We want to ensure that you maximize on the aid available to that certain population. There's actually a little bit more funding available for those that went through foster youth or in the foster care system or were a court or another court. We want to know that there is resources and plenty of money for those students that identify. This question is for when you renew your FAFSA next year that you're now going to be going into your second year of college. It's going to ask if you receive financial aid, federal student aid. You're going to answer yes, but they're also going to ask you if you've ever been convicted of a felony or a misdemeanor. And smoking weed, I will say, can be considered and disqualify students, college students specifically, from receiving aid. So be conscious and be mindful that things that you get involved when you go on to college, as silly as that may sound, you do not want to jeopardize your financial aid for a bad decision you made while your first year in college. You also want to be mindful of these institutions of higher education, that you're not partying too much, that your GPA doesn't fall below a 2.0, because that is the first thing that they're going to go after, your financial aid. If you don't have the grades, or if you're not in school full time, or if you've been convicted of a misdemeanor or a felony at some point. So, you know, now that you're going to be going to college, you want to be conscious of your decisions because it will have consequences. Then it's going to go into your school. The name of the high school that you will be graduating from, you're going to look for it by the state, city, and then the full name. If you are at San Pedro High School, you should not be putting Pedro High. That is an abbreviation, and that is slang for us. Its proper name is San Pedro Senior High School. If you go to Banning, you should not be putting Banning High School, BHS. We're not going to, it's not its legal name. So you have to get accustomed to using its legal name. Phineas Banning High School. So if you don't know what the name of your high school is, or you don't know its formal name, you can ask us what the school code is, because every school, we're actually going to drop the school codes. Team, if you can help me by dropping your school codes in the chat. I know for Banning is 053785. So I'll go ahead and drop it in the chat at this moment. Pedro, Gardena, Norban, if you're in this presentation, if you can drop us and help us out with your school code, Paula. So it's easier to look up high schools when filling out the financial aid. And then you'll have the option to input your colleges that you may be considering applying. Now, we know it's fairly new to some of you that College App has even been open, and you may not even have a list of colleges that you may be considering. We do advise that you put one school at least so that you can get to the next part of the application. But if you have more, this is your opportunity to shine, thrive, and put 5 schools, 10 schools. If you have 15 schools, because you are just that high achiever kid and you are going after everyone and everything, this is your opportunity to only list up to 10. However, in about 24 hours from when you input the 10, you can go back and delete 5 or 6 or however many slots you need and replace them with the new schools that you want. And ultimately, all of these 15, 16 schools will get your information. Some of you might even have 17 schools because, hey, you're going after the small liberal arts schools and you're going after privates and out of states, and you're going after everything because you are thriving. So this is your opportunity to put as many schools as you like. Just keep in mind that you have slots for 10, but after 24 hours or 36 hours, you can always go back, add schools and take schools. You're probably going to do this a lot because you're going to change your mind between schools. You may do it even after you start to hear back and do process of eliminations from those schools that maybe didn't accept you, or you might find yourself making edits to that part because you're going to ultimately go to one college and one college only. So at the end of the day, it doesn't matter how many colleges you have on that list. It matters to really what college you're going to commit to in the fall. And so you will at some point only have one college and one college only. The idea is to get the information to as many colleges that you are even considering. Just even considering, you're rather just get your information out to them than them not having it and then you're considering applying. If you at any point to say, hey, you know what, I was gonna apply to USC, but maybe not, again, you could take it down, or vice versa. I wasn't gonna apply to Mount St. Mary's, but you know what? I was sold by the presentation I went to. I'm going to add Mount St. Mary's to the list of schools, but make sure you apply. Don't just go adding schools just to add schools. Make sure that you consider applying for them, or at the very least, remove them. And fun fact about your transcripts, if you did not know if you didn't know this, your GPA that is on your FAFSA, there's more than one, is your college GPA. So you can find your college GPA there, your cumulative GPA, your unweighted GPA, and then you're gonna find your FAFSA GPA. FAFSA is even on there, 3.5 or higher. You're looking at a lot of money for school. Just saying, just putting it out there for just even being a California resident. That's what I'm talking about, that entitlement. It's based on GPA. And so it's gonna go into questions about children. I hope, I mean, if you are a parent, congratulations to you. But if you don't have children or don't plan on having any children and don't have any dependents, you will be answering no to these. Now, the difference between do I have children and do I have dependents is very different. Dependent is someone that relies on you financially. Then that could be an adult in some cases. If you maybe take care of your mom for some odd reason and you are a provider to her, she's a dependent of you, but it's always the way around. You are a dependent of your parent. Or if you have children, these are special circumstances that will automatically classify you as an independent student. None of you, and I regret to inform you, will be an independent student unless you are not married, aren't older than 24, or have a child or a dependent, or have served in the military, or have been in foster youth care. Those are the only 5 things that will classify you as an independent. All of us and most of us will be dependent. You depend on your parents' income. Then there's going to be questions on active duty. If you serve in the military, if you serve, if you're a veteran, or if at any point your parents passed away or were deceased, or if you were in foster care. Another question on foster care. Or if you're an emancipated minor, that means you divorce your parents through the court. I yet to meet anyone divorce their parents through the court. Maybe informally, indirectly, like I want to divorce my parents, but I have yet to see it. But again, if you are in those sensitive cases or situations, make sure that you talk to one of us, because we want to make sure that you're moving in the right direction. And then if at any point other than your mom or your dad had legal guardianship over you, an aunt, an uncle, a grandma, grandpa, you need to disclose that to us, because we want to make sure that you're not have the stress of putting your parent information, yet maybe your parent's not in the picture. So if that is your situation, our heart goes out to you. Know that your information is confidential. We will not share this with anyone else, but it's important that you tell us who your guardian is or who you live with, because again, we want to ensure that you maximize and get the most aid you can for college, right? Any questions here? I know I see the chat is active. I love the energy. Thank you for those asking your questions. I see one here. I don't feel pressure that your school list is not 100% accurate. I love the positivity. I love the energy. It's very normal to not have a list of schools. Very common to not have it all figured out and see what colleges you're going to apply to and whether competitive or non-competitive or impacted or not. College Bound is here for you. If you work with the case manager, I ensure you, guarantee you're going to at the very least have a list of some schools put together. If not 10, maybe at least 4. It does come down to your GPA. So believe me when I say get that transcript evaluated, because for some of you, you need to have that conversation with the case manager. Maybe you need someone to tell you like, hey, you can apply to 8 night schools. Maybe you haven't had that conversation with the case manager. So make sure that you're getting your transcript evaluated. Make sure you're setting up those case manager appointments so that you can explore your options and eventually have that list of schools. You'll get there, I promise. There's going to be questions on if you encounter homelessness. We just went through a pandemic. We're still currently living in it. And so if you're at any point we're homeless or at risk of being homeless, you need to talk to us. We want to ensure that not only are you getting the most aid for college, but that you're getting the resources through or that you at the very least have a roof over your head and food on your table. So let us know. We do have different resources for students in those situations. And then it's going to get even more personal. Are your parents married, together, divorced? Are they living together? What is the status of your parents? Now, for some of you, you may find out that maybe your parents never got married, but they were just happily living together this whole entire time. And you know, it's okay. That's actually the norm now. You find more parents that live together that are actually even married. And so if you're in that situation, know that the selection or the option that you're going to be selecting here. And now you do have to be very careful because your mouse will pick up everything. So if your mouse selects the wrong option, it could be that because you're moving too fast. So there's going to be questions whether your parents are married or not married. If they are married, you are going to need to know the month and the year. So this is a fun question during dinner. Or if they're separated, the month and the year when they got separated, because then it's going to do process of elimination. And if ultimately you live with one parent and come from a single parent household, then you can only answer for one. If you live with both, then you'll be answering for both. And then it gets even more personal. It's going to ask for parents' social security numbers, birthdays, last name, and first initial. So again, this is where you're working with the staff to ensure that, one, you're not mixing up your parents' birthday, or that you're not inputting the birthday incorrectly. We see that a lot happen over the years where students will get things mixed. I know in the traditional Mexican household, your parent was born October the 6th, they're gonna write the 6th and then the 10th. That is a very tricky way to write birthdays in my own personal opinion, but it's the way that it's just done in Mexico. So if you again, you have to be very cautious as when you're entering their birthday and ensure that you're not getting them mixed up with yourself or with your other parent, and that you're not putting today's date. No one's parent should be born today. That'd be kind of, yeah, you wouldn't have someone be born today. So we get it. There's a lot of mixed emotions. You're taking your time, you're pacing yourself. I want to just see how we're doing so far with energy. We're a little more than halfway through. It is now 6:08. Should we pause here and try to answer some questions, or should we just move straight?
I've been answering questions as well, and then other our team members also. So, I mean, if you're good, Miss Karina, I think we're good. Got kids here are getting fed, I'm sure.
Cool. The food's getting there.
Yep.
Cool. I'm gonna just go ahead and see if there's anything urgent that needs to be addressed. I have a question on the chat. I heard that the GPA required for a Cal Grant is a 3.0 for Cal Grant A. That is correct. 2.0 is for Cal Grant B. 3.0 is for Cal Grant A. So good question. Actually, for this semester, the way your FAFSA GPA is calculated is through 9, 10th, and 11, and they do remove certain electives and PE courses. So there is a formula. We have forms at our site that can help you calculate manually your FAFSA GPA and as well as your college GPA. So there is different formulas that are being used for those GPAs. Let's see here. I have a question about inputting schools. Does it matter in what order? Very good question about inputting schools. We do want you to have your first school be a California school, and so that your information goes to California, to at least one California school. The way your information is going to be used by putting your one California school, it's going to, at the very least, help you secure your Cal Grant. Your Cal Grant A or Cal Grant B. So you want to ensure that your first school is a California school, and then of course you're going to be able to do your other out-of-state or private schools. I will disclaimer and just want to throw this out there. If you are considering private schools or out-of-state schools, add this to your list of to-dos. You will have to fill out the CSS profile, which is a supplemental application to the FAFSA or the DREAM Act, and then that is through College Board. So it's a supplemental extra, one more item you have to do for those private and out-of-state schools. So I just want to make sure that that wasn't left out and that we're moving along with the chat. Cool. Thank you all for your participation. Thank you for your questions. They're very much appreciated. And we went ahead and dropped the CSS profile link on the chat. Moving forward with the presentation. Now you notice that the tabs look exactly the same or almost the same when it comes to inputting your parent information. You have to read the question twice. If you find yourself very clueless or you're unsure if you're moving in the right direction, the best advice I can give you is read the question twice. Is it asking for your parent or is it asking for your mom or for your dad? Now, the way FAFSA works is they're gonna not identify your mom as mom. They're gonna call your mom parent 1 or parent 2. You're going to decide who that parent 1 and parent 2 is. Now, if you only come with one parent or you only live with one parent, let's say you would only answer for one parent and one parent only. Now, grandma, unfortunately, is not considered a parent in FAFSA, nor are any like aunties or ninos or any of that. They have to be your biological parents. If you're unsure who your parents are, maybe that's an icebreaker, a conversation starter with your case manager. And then it's gonna get even more trickier. Now, I don't mean to overwhelm you. I don't want you to walk out of here like, damn, this is a very stressful application, because it's really not. It just gets very tedious and very personal. It's gonna then ask, out of the people that live in your home, who do your parents provide for? The first question is asking how many children in your home, aside of yourself, this is not including yourself, this is your siblings, that rely on your income or rely on your parents' income. If you have siblings, this is where you put the number of siblings that live in your home. They have to live at home, and we'll try to. Now, there is an exception to that. Let's say if your brother or sister is in college and they don't live at home physically, but your mom and dad provide for them 6 months out of the year, I say make them part of the equation, include them because they're providing for them indirectly. So you can still put brother and sister that is in college. You're not adding yourself to the equation, because that is going to throw off the number of people that live in your home. Now, if grandma come and stay with and live with you as well, we know there was a lot of shifts in houses or home situations where families were merged together or were forced to move in together. Grandma and grandpa then came to live with you. It's gonna ask is as of the 2022 and 2023, would grandma and grandpa still live with you? If the answer is yes, because you know that's gonna become the permanent home, you get to them, make them part of the equation. And then once you select the number of students that, the number of children that live in your home, the number of adults that rely on, again, your mom and your dad's income, you're gonna get this wonderful formula auto-populated to you, and it's gonna read number 9. If that number doesn't match, then we need to do it all over. We need to backtrack and see which in which of these numbers did we overestimate or underestimate. But the number of people that live in your home, let's say if you're in a family of 9, should be read as 9. The first number is gonna be yourself, so that's 1. And then after, if it's your mom and your dad, that's 2 adults, right? Other than your mom and your dad, there's the children, and then there's grandma and grandpa, which puts you at a family of 9 in that household. If you have a little bit of trouble calculating, consult that with the case manager. Ask them or share with your case manager your family tree. Hey, you know, I'm at home, it's mom and dad, myself, 2 siblings, grandpa and grandpa. How do you think I should better answer this question? So you're consulting, you're conversating with your case manager to ensure that this number is not off at all. It should not be off by even 1. You can't just like, oh, it's just 10, but it's really 9 of us. No, it has to be accurate, especially if your parent is providing for them financially. It has to be, they have to provide for them financially. And then it's gonna ask whether your parents file taxes or not. Again, it's not for us to ask. It is just our job to help you translate what that tax information has in front of you. It's gonna ask you for the type of form that they filled out and their filing status. And so again, these aren't forms that are very student friendly. So we wanna ensure that you understand what the question is asking. So if it's asking about filing status, 9 out of 10 times, you're not gonna know what that means. So again, you're working with the case manager. Now, the cool thing about the FAFSA that I think all of us is probably our most favorite is the IRS retrieval tool. It's literally that. It retrieves your information directly from the IRS and it fills out your FAFSA. Some of you may be able to do that use that feature. It's a very advanced feature. It literally retrieves item by item, line by line into your FAFSA from the tax forms. So the tax forms are pretty thick. You probably have maybe come across them and notice how thick they are. Now, rather than sitting there and filling out every part of the application, you can just go with the IRS retrieval tool, and it's automatically going to fill out your entire FAFSA application. The only thing that it's not going to do is going to break up the incomes, not that advanced. So you may find yourself having to do basic math and break up the incomes. How much did your parent one make and how much did your parent two make and how much did they pay in taxes? So you will have to do some basic math if they are filing together. Again, you're working with one of our staffs to ensure that we're doing the proper math. And then if you aren't able to use the IRS retrieval tool for whatever reason, then again, you're doing basic math and breaking up the incomes or maybe adding the incomes together to determine what is your adjusted gross income. This question might have been one that you might have came across when filling out the CSU or the UC application. What is your adjusted gross income or AGI? And you'll have to memorize or start using this number more frequently. So you're gonna find yourself coming across that question a lot. It's a good idea to just memorize it. And of course, the number of people that live in your home, because that will determine whether you are eligible for waivers when applying to college. Waivers, we don't longer do paper waivers or ever done paper waivers in the history of college or applying to college. They're all in part of the college application. So as soon as you input your adjusted gross income and the number of people in your home, it will auto-populate and say, yes, eligible for a waiver or not. But because you're gonna be asked, shut down and applied, right? Yes, nod your head. You're going to be then have access to the golden tickets that are vouchers for fee waivers. So some of you might walk away with a fee waiver. Some of you might walk away with the fee waiver after today for filling out your FAFSA. So here's where you break up the incomes for parent one, parent two, and then it goes into how much did they pay in taxes. I'm telling you, it's very specific, very personal. And then it asks if they pay or receive child support. There's even questions all the way at the bottom about untaxed portions, meaning or what they're trying to ask in a better use of terms is, do they collect food stamps? Do they collect Social Security benefits, disability benefits? What other income do they bring into the home that is not through wages? Are they retired? Are they collecting Social Security benefits? That is all information that, again, only maybe your parent might know. Have they borrowed from a pension? So that's, again, questions that you're going to come across. Again, we're not experts, but we have we are very knowledgeable when it comes to this type of information. So if you're not sure to ask us, this is that tab I was talking about. After the fourth tab, it starts getting very personal and very, maybe even intimidating. So definitely understand if there's anxiety or any type of, you feel nervous of any kind. And then it's gonna go into assets. If you don't know what an asset is, that is considered or defined by financial aid. A side of the home that you live in, a back house can be an asset, a house in the front can be an asset, a timeshare can be an asset, apartments, a side of the home that you live in, let's say you live in your home, but your mom and dad own apartments, that can be an asset. So assets is only for those that own a second property. It has to be like I said, a back house, front yard, or a front home, and maybe you rent the back home. But if you aren't sure about assets, again, talk to any of us because we want to make sure that you understand what an asset is. But in most cases, it's a second home, a second property. And then it's going to ask if the student filed taxes. If you notice at the top, it says student. It does not say anything about parent, but student. Did the student work during the 2019 year and filed 2020? And did the student made any income? Now, if you didn't work, then this was a pretty straight shot answer. No, I did not work and I'm not going to file taxes and my income is zero. But if you did work but didn't file because the number that you need to have to make in an adjusted gross income is 10,000. If you didn't meet the income requirement, then chances are you didn't have to report taxes. However, they are probably going to ask you about that W-2 that you maybe had gotten from an employer You're not required to report it, but do know that they, in most cases, know about it, especially if you had like a summer internship or anything like that. Just ensure that you have your W-2 so that you can have that accessible if they were to ever ask for it. No pressure as to whether you work or not. It's not going to impact you in any way, shape, or form. You have to be making, like I said, something big. And by big, I mean like 20, 30,000, or you're going to start to see an impact on your financial aid packets. But if you're not making anywhere close to that, just know that there's going to be questions about your income, whether you reported it or not, and how much did you make. I get to see anyone's financial aid status get impacted by the amount that they made. Very little, oftentimes, students make a small amount, which is not enough to impact financial aid at all. I mean, your parents would have to be making like something crazy, and then you'd have to be making something crazier. So, more of the story doesn't impact you. Then there's questions as to whether you collect or receive child support or any taxable earnings. In most cases, this information is not applicable to our students. Now, keep in mind that this application is universal, so there's hundreds and thousands of people that are filling out the FAFSA that where they do work and they are student employees or student workers, so they do have an income and report taxes, but for most of our students, it's not applicable. A preparer is a person that does people's taxes. No one, and I get to meet any 18-year-old, be a tax person. Now, if you want to pursue that as an option, by all means, I think it's a great side gig because you can definitely make a lot of money during tax season, April, January till April. So disclaimer, won't apply to you. And so then you're going to get to the very end and you're going to come across this item called the SAR, SAR. We're going to actually leave it in the chat and we're going to identify what the SAR means. What it means is the student aid report. This is what's going to make you part of the raffle. This is a summary of the application you just finished filling out. And so this is how you're going to verify and ensure that you don't have any mistakes on your application. No one, and I mean no one, should be submitting in their financial aid application or DREAM Act application without printing out their SAR and getting it revised. Especially if you did it at home by yourself. This is the best way to avoid every type of problems. We will catch, we have caught problems in the past or minor mistakes. So you print out your SAR, it's about 6 pages long, but don't worry about printing. We have plenty of technology at every one of our locations. I also want to share with you that at those shutdowns and apply, that thing that sets every boys or this program apart from any other college access program is that you're going to be in an environment with reliable technology. We have the tech, we have the bodies, we have the printers, we have experts in these areas that not only have that they gone through the process, but have learned the background information about it. So this is the bonus for being part of our program. We want to ensure that you walk out of here knowing that our program has had the success that it's had because of the tech, because of the manpower, because there are the bodies that are able to move around and answer these type of questions or deal with these type of scenarios. And so when you're printing out the SAR, you're just not printing it to be part of a raffle, but you're printing it to avoid any of the common mistakes. So again, kudos to all of you sitting through an hour presentation long. But after today, like I said, we're going to ensure that you submit the best application you possibly can when it comes to college and applying for money. Last but not least will be your digital signature that I once mentioned, which is your FAFSA ID. You created this at the start of the presentation. You might have had even done a second one, depending on how savvy you were able to be. And so this is the only time, and I say only time, you're actually able to sign for your parent. And you're really not signing, you're really providing their username and password. And this is how you sign digital. Now it's gonna ask you, are you signing for parent 1 and parent 2? You might have had forgotten this by now because you were maybe moving too fast or even forgot who your parent 1 was. You have to write it down. Mom is parent 1, dad is parent 2, or vice versa. Otherwise, you're gonna find yourself signing for parent 2 and then putting a username and password for parent 1. And then you're gonna really we want to avoid any confusion as to the way you sign. So if, like I said, you have to remember who's your parent one and parent two. We have found that students will spend a lot of time in this tab of the application. They actually spend more time here than the entire application altogether, because they'll mess up on the username, they'll mess up on the social, they'll mess up on the birthdays, and now the information doesn't match. And you're going to be getting all these boxes on how your information is not matching. So a reason why you have to pace yourself. Take your time. It's going to take you an hour and a half. It's going to be the best hour and a half you have dedicated to your application. And you're going to at least know that there's no mistakes at this application. And so you're going to agree to the terms and condition, and you're going to be able to send your financial aid. I want to share with all of you that if your parent does not have a social security number, you're not going to create a username and password, but you're instead going to do the signature page. You are going to sign manually. You're going to print it, or you're going to have one of us print it for you, and you're going to get it signed by your parent at home and put it in the mail. So those are only for parents who don't have a social security number. They will not be creating an FSA ID. They will instead do a signature page and put that in the mail. That is the only thing you're doing different. They're going to process your financial aid just like everyone else, but you will not be creating an FSA ID, and you will not be signing digital. You will be signing through a the paper option, through a paper format, which is a manual signature that you're literally having to get your parents to sign. It's just one single sheet that you print, and then you put it in the mail, and that is what's going to finalize your application. Now, you're going to get it to the very end. You're going to get a confirmation page, raffle time. You're going to submit this to your coordinator after you completed your FAFSA. But remember, you have to first get your student aid report, your SAR, evaluated, revised so that there's no mistakes before you even turn in your confirmation page. That is the final step. And on there is going to be different types of information. You're going to have information about your estimated family contribution, which was a question in the poll. Your estimated contribution, family contribution, is known as your EFC, and your EFC will determine how much you get in a Pell Grant. So that entitlement that I was talking about, those grants, free money you don't ever have to pay back, the Pell Grant is one of them. The Pell Grant is from the federal government, which is where it gets its name, Pell Grant from the federal government. And then Cal Grant comes from the state of California, which is also where it gets its name. So you're going to, like I said, some of you may be entitled to for both Cal Grant and Pell Grant. And when you add a Pell Grant to a Cal Grant, you're looking at anywhere between $12,000 to $18,000. That is a lot of money for any 18-year-old. And the best part is that you get to manage your money. You get to decide what you want to spend your money. And obviously, your first expense is going to be tuition, and your second highest expense is going to be housing. So you're going to have to administrate your money and ensure that you have a roof over your head, meals on your table, and that you have money for school. But do know that Cal Grant and Pell Grant combined can be up to $18,000 for anyone with a 3.0 or higher. So it does pay for having good grades. It does, especially if you're low income, especially if you've been thriving, especially if you kicked butt during this pandemic and you kept your grades up. It does pay. And you will see it. You will see it through your financial aid awards. There is an incentives. The colleges want every reason to admit you, but not only that, they have the money to admit you and bring you to their campus. And so with that, in the confirmation page, you're going to come across the graduation rate. We love to highlight that anytime we do the FAFSA or DREAM Act, because we want to know that the schools you selected, what is their graduation rate? What is their retention? How many other students do they retain? And then when it comes to community college, we like to highlight how many are transferring, and we want you to be part of that transfer rate. We want to ensure you're graduating and you're part of that graduation rate. So we will point it out to you. We will highlight it. But this is an opportunity for you to see who is getting retained, who's graduating, who's transferring, so that you're part of that graduation rate and that retention rate. And so that is all for the FAFSA. Lots of information, lots of questions, lots of, I'm sure, mixed emotions and maybe a little bit of overwhelmness, but just know that the College Bound team and the program is here for you. If you, like I said, like I mentioned earlier, have a sensitive case and you aren't unsure on how to even move forward, or maybe you're unsure as to even filling out the FAFSA because you maybe have, have heard nothing but bad things about it, ask us. We would love to answer your questions and alleviate as many myths or stigma behind the FAFSA or financial aid application of any kind. And like I said, we are here. You have an opportunity to be part of a raffle by turning in your SAR and getting it revised, by turning in your confirmation page so that we can go over your estimated family contribution in your Pell Grant and your loans, because they will even auto-populate your loans and you'll be able to at least have an idea as to how much money you're entitled to or eligible for. We will, at the end of the day, do our best to maximize the aid and minimize the costs. That is another benefit from being part of our program. And last but not least, lots of scholarships. You have the very first one, Toyota, which is a pretty big one. Now, we have seen students get both Toyota, Posse, and on top of that, have their financial aid package or their financial aid all merged into one. And we have kids going to school where they're actually getting paid to go to school because of how much money they have. They have so much, especially with the big scholarships, they in some cases end up having a little bit of money left over, not a whole lot. But how great is that, where you don't even have to worry about working in campus, at least not your first year. And if you decide to work on campus, you'll have work study as an option. But we do have those kids that maximize the aid and minimize the cost. And like I said, we've been advocates of this work while doing this work, and we'll become your educated parents, and we'll even write a script for you on how to advocate for more aid. And so with that being said, we have now came down to the end. I do want to answer any questions that are from the audience. And so I'm going to turn it over to all of you at this point and to ask us anything that is related to financial aid.
Karina?
Yes.
Because this was a question that I saw in the chat. If we could maybe tell the students once they submit on their confirmation page or their confirmation email where they can see their Pell Grant eligibility. So they already know how much they've secured at least for federal money, and then how they would be able to find out how much more they can get from the state.
Of course. So Pell Grant, right underneath the estimated family contribution, you'll have a number. Now that number may have a couple of zeros in the front, and then, or maybe all zeros. Maybe you have a contribution of zeros and it's just all zeros all the way. That automatically means you're entitled to the full amount. That's the $6,495, and we'll drop it in the chat just so you can memorize that number. $6,495 for having a contribution of zero. However, if let's say you have a contribution of like $5 because your EFC is 5, it's 0.00000, and then you have 5. That means they're only going to deduct $5 from your Pell Grant, which still leaves you with $6,490. Now, let's say if you have a contribution of 7,000 and you have an EFC of 7,000, because your EFC overrides your Pell Grant. Now, mind you, Pell Grant's only 6,000. You will automatically get disqualified from your Pell Grant. However, that's only the first year. That's not to say that that's going to be every year after that. Now, you may be disqualified the first year, but you may be requalified the year after that and the year after that. It's based on income, and it is based on last year's income. Now, mind you, we're in the middle of a pandemic. There was a lot of people that were furloughed. There was a lot of people that were impacted financially. If your parents were one of those persons, you need to come and talk to us ASAP, because there's a possibility that there's unemployment, and all this income that the IRS once thought you made doesn't even exist. You have an opportunity to appeal, and you have an opportunity to bring new evidence in your favor of your situation. If your parent was furloughed, we ask that you come and talk to any of us so that we can better serve you and that we can secure as much aid as we can for you. there's a possibility that, like I said, you can appeal and maybe present new evidence. And in this case will be unemployment if that is the circumstances that your parents may be in. And maybe we might have to report unemployment as an untaxed form of income and not present adjusted gross income because that is irrelevant. And then maybe that's how you're able to qualify for that $6,495. So keep an eye out for your EFC. Look at it, study it, memorize it. So the next time I see you, I'm like, hey, what's your EFC? You're gonna be like, none, zero. I got a full Pell Grant. Or if you do have an EFC of like, let's say 20 bucks, hey, $6,000 still goes a long way when you're in college. So even if you do have an EFC and it's a little bitty one, it's okay because you get to still get the maximum or the most amount in Pell Grant. I mean, they're only deducting a little bit of that Pell Grant, but if you have a sibling in college, make sure you guys are sharing that with us because we want to ensure that both of you, of both siblings, get the around the same amount of aid, or depending again on the type of school. It does come down to the type of school you're going to be attending, if you're going to live on campus, off campus, all of that plays a role. Don't think just because your sister or brother is going to the community college and they have all this money left over that you are too. Especially if you plan to live on campus, that changes everything. Now, can someone add the Pell Grant and the Cal Grant so they can see the amounts? Absolutely. So we're going to start with the first one. Pell Grant is $6,495. If you are a senior in high school right now listening to this presentation and have a 2.0 as a FAFSA GPA, you have to confirm that on your transcript, and we'll try to go with what you think you have. No, you have to base it out of your transcripts, and you have a 2.0 or higher, you're entitled to Cal Grant B if you're considering the Cal State route. Cal State will automatically make you eligible for $5,742 plus, here's the plus, a stipend of $1,642. So we're going to start with that. If you have an EFC of 0 and your estimated family contribution is 0, you're entitled for the full amount of the Pell Grant. That's your $6,495. You have maybe anywhere between a 2.0 and a 3.0, so that makes you eligible for Cal Grant B. That is the $5,742 plus $1,648, which all combined puts you at anywhere between $12,000 to $13,000 for having a 2.0 or higher. Now, if you're a 3.0 or higher, you're considering a UC, that is the $12,000 that I was talking to you. So of course, the higher the GPA, the more expensive the school is, the higher the amount. So if you have a 3.0 or higher, you're considering UC Berkeley, UC Santa Barbara, you're considering UCLA, you're entitled to $12,000 plus the Pell Grant, puts you close to $18,000 in free money you don't ever have to pay back. So it varies. Cal Grant A can go anywhere between $5,000 to $7,000 with the 2.0 or higher. Cal Grant A will vary because depending on the type of school that you're considering. At the CSU is about $5,000. At the UC is about $12,000. You merge your Cal Grant and your Pell Grant, and that is how you have these $12,000, $18,000 that I'm talking to you about. Now, if you do have an EFC, do remember, keep in mind that your Pell Grant is going to be reduced by a little bit depending on that EFC. But you can still have, like I said, enough money for school, especially those commuter schools, Dominguez, Long Beach. You're going to have money left over in most cases. So even if you do have an EFC and it's a small one, it's not going to impact you by too much. One of the other things that just came to mind as I was talking about and going through the presentation is the way you input colleges. I want to make sure that everyone here knows how to input colleges correctly. You need to know the difference between UCSD, which is in San Diego, La Jolla, or San Diego State, which is in the city of San Diego. Those are two different cities. So when you are inputting colleges, you want to ensure that the colleges that you're inputting is the college that you're considering applying to. It's very easy to get schools mixed up. I still see kids writing University of California, Long Beach, when it's California State University, Long Beach, Cal State. And it happens very often. We do have a cheat sheet at every one of our sites with school codes. So if you're not sure what the school code is of your college, ask one of us. But we want to avoid making mistakes like that, where even the one that I see very often is University of California, San Diego, UCSD, that's in La Jolla, San Diego State, and then the private school, University San Diego, which is the
No, you had it
Catholic
right. University of San Diego is the private, UC San Diego is the UC, and San Diego State University is the CSU. So 23 CSUs, that's the one that Aztecs is the mascot.
Okay. Now, I got some really awesome questions that I must share with all of you. I love the energy. It says, so does this mean I should start with the CSU or the UC? I will say this out loud. The UCs have been open for 2 months now as of August 1st. The CSU opened, just recently opened about 5 days ago as of the 1st. Moral of the story, find one that you want to work on, but work on it. At this point, work on one over the other. Get your transcripts evaluated. Know if you meet the requirements without just, don't apply just to apply. And make sure that you're meeting the bare minimum GPA. You need a 3.0 for the UCs, 2.5 for the Cal States. Now they're both formally open. The deadline is November 30th, the week of Thanksgiving. We do close for that week. However, there are schools like Cal State Dominguez and Cal State Northridge that are less impacted schools that will take applications up until December 15th. There's a very handful, don't count on all of them taking the December 15th date, but that's only for Cal States and it's for the less impacted schools, but I know Northridge and Dominguez are on there. I say at this point, start on one of them, whether it's creating your username or password, whether it's working on the PIQs, whether it's working on EOP, but start on one of them. Do not delay this anymore. We have Saturdays allocated for all of you to come and work on one over the other. You saw the content, you saw what we're working with. And more than anything, talk to a case manager about your applications and about your apps and about your options and about your major and everything else that comes when applying to college. We are here for you all. We wouldn't have been college bound had it not been for you. So talk to us, make an appointment, schedule an appointment after today, private message your case manager right now, like I gotta meet with you. This is important. All of us should be walking away here with all different types of appointments. There is a supplemental question on the CSU app, which is known as the EOP program that you're gonna come across. That is a supplemental question. And so you will be able to knock out the CSU. However, there's a supplemental questions to that where you do need 2 recommenders as well. Come out to our senior retreat on the 22nd and, just come out to any of our Saturday events. We're here until 8 p.m. You don't bother us. We're here for all of you. And yes, the PIQs and the EOP, there is a similarity, there is an overlap. So chances are if you have one already, you might already have the others. So start. I think that is my biggest takeaway is just start on working on one of them. Your PIQs will then become your EOP questions, and your EOP might then become your PIQs. And the same for the Common App. You're going to see some similarities. You may even see some similarities for the Toyota prompt. There is 2 prompts that you have to respond to. So you're going to find yourself editing, modifying a little bit here and there. And chances are you might already have the groundwork. You maybe just have to start putting it together. And so thank you all so much for your undivided attention. You all have been very great audience. I'm gonna stick around till the end. We have about another 10-15 minutes to still answer questions. But if you now feel the need to excuse yourself, you may. If you maybe want to work on your apps or talk to a case manager, you may. We're just going to stay behind and answer as many of these questions that are coming through the chat. You all have a restful evening. Thank you for today's participation. And we will see you next week for the UC walkthrough application that we'll be conducting. And the week after is, I believe, the Cal State. So we are going to go in there with those 2 applications and ensure that your questions are being answered. Thank you so much for being a great audience. We need a case manager. Bring worksheet attached to email. Very great question. I would like to give out a shout out to Bianca. Bianca, yes, you will bring your worksheet that was attached to your email. I see you're paying attention, and you will bring that filled out if you maybe can't find your taxes, or maybe your parents maybe feel a little hesitant about having you carrying the tax information. You can definitely bring your worksheet, your pre-worksheet filled out, and do the FAFSA that way. Yes, that is the correct thing to do. Good job on opening your attachments and reading through your emails. Now make sure to schedule your appointments. Make sure you private message your case manager so that you meet the March 2nd deadline for FAFSA, which is going to be a while from here. What is a case manager? Love this. Love this. What is a case manager and where can I get in contact with one? We all serve as case manager. We are all here as a mentor and as an advisor and as your role model, if you want to think of us that way. We all can be happy to work with you. You just need to approach any of us, any of who you feel most comfortable with, or maybe the closest to you, and let them know, hey, I am here to fill out my FAFSA because I just learned about the FAFSA application. So it's all of us. We identify as case managers at all of our locations through College Bound. That's just a term that we use. Special shout out to Manuel for your questions that just kept us in our toes. Great, great, great questions. I see that you are taking, you're an innovator and that you are taking charge, and you have definitely impacted us all with your questions. You had really great questions, let me say that. We hope we answer them all. I did see you at the chat and very active, so shout out to Manuel.
And Stephanie, Karina, you're Stephanie at Wilmington. She was asking a lot of good questions too.
Shout out to Steph from the Wilmington side for also asking questions. Definitely shows that you're paying attention, and we want to make sure that your questions are answered. So thank you for that participation.
Good job, Karina.
Hi, Miss Carla.
And also, thank you for staying, and thank you, Miss Karina, for leading us today. Remember, 100% now, Miss Karina for the FAFSA today. 3 people missed it.
Y'all could have not missed that one. My name was on display. I introduced myself like